Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Abby with Fitness is Medicine. Today we're going to do another workout that you can do in your home. The only pieces of equipment that I'm going to use are a band, a set of weights, and a step. So if you don't have a specific workout step, you can use a step stool, just like a small step. I have one that I used for my kids when they were little. Or the bottom step of a staircase. You can even just climb stairs for it instead. Or a step that you may have outside, leading into your house. It's easy to find a step around your home. So go ahead and grab a band, a set of weights, and a step if you have one. Otherwise, just use the bottom step of your staircase. All right, so we're going to start with lat pull down today. Stringing a band from a high point down so that you can pull down can be a difficult thing in your home. I've got a little strap that works in the door. You can also loop a band through the top of a door, or if you have something higher in your home, like a higher railing or something that you can pull down from. The point is, we're going to work your back muscles, but I want you to be able to pull down from a higher position. So it's similar to a row, but we're pulling down, really working those large muscles, your latissimus dorsi, in your back. Okay, so I'm going to sit for this one. If you do have a higher place and you can sit on a chair or even kneel like this is another good way to do this exercise. It doesn't work for me because I can't get it high enough. So now if you have a challenge like that in your home, press pause, go find a spot, and then start it up again. Okay, so I'm going to sit. And the important part here is that I'm going to sit tall. I want to sit up nice and tall, keeping those shoulders down away from my ears. We're going to pull your handles or your bands straight down towards your armpits. So if you have a machine you're using, try to pull that bar down in front of your head, pulling it to your armpits. Really focus on keeping those shoulders down away from your ears. Breathing each time. So take a breath now and then breathe out as you pull down. You're thinking about your shoulder blades squeezing down and back as you come down. Really working those postural muscles, those shoulder muscles, and those large muscles in your back. And 10. Okay. Now, we're going to go to that step. So I've got mine set up over here. If you can, use somewhere where you can hang on. Generally, if you're going to be using a step on a staircase, then you can use the railing. I don't necessarily want you using it if you don't have to, but having it available if you can. So I've got mine set up next to my treadmill here. It's a good sturdy place to hang on if I were to lose my balance. And I want you to start with one foot up on the step. What I want you to do actually is we're going to step up like this and then slowly lower back down. So we're working on that eccentric motion of those quads, really working on that strength. So step up, slowly try to come back down, working on control of that muscle. Tucky's here helping me today. Resting on my treadmill. Okay, good posture, step all the way up, slowly lower back down. Really control that as long as you can in that foot that's standing on that step. Try to get your whole foot up on that step. So I've got kind of a big foot. I'm going to turn my step sideways. But step up and all the way back down. The other thing you can imagine using, and the more you think about muscle recruitment, the more you think about those muscles, the more they will engage. So if you think about using your glutes here, they're controlling the hip muscles here. Really think about engaging that glute, especially as you start to lower down off that step. And like I said, the more you think about it, the more muscle fibers will be recruited to the area. Okay, let's switch feet. I'm going to turn this way as well. All right, so foot up all the way on that step. I don't want your foot hanging off the back of that step. There's more chance for losing your balance and injury here. So you want that whole step, whole foot. Also, that helps you keep your knee over your ankle as you perform this. So step up, slowly lower back down. Really control those hip muscles. Think about keeping your knee in perfect alignment in front of, like over your ankle, in front of your toe. Don't let it cave in towards the middle. Nice and tall. If you lose your balance, just start over. Slowly back down. Tubby's here to help. He doesn't like to be too far from me. Okay, 3 more. Remember, use that railing for balance if you need to, so that you can really control it. If you can't control that slowly up and down, use the railing. If you have a step maybe in your kitchen and you're using your kitchen counter like we did last week, or somewhere where you have a railing, just so you can really control that. Engaging those quads, engaging those glutes. And actually your hamstrings are also working in on this, so it's all those large lower leg muscles. Okay, good, that was 10. Next, we're gonna do bicep curls into shoulder press. So go ahead and grab a set of dumbbells. And what I want you to do is we're going to curl up to your shoulders and then press overhead. So I'm gonna move my camera just a touch. And if you can, let's try this in a tandem stance. So I like to add a little instability to all of my exercises. If you're able, start with your feet shoulder width apart. See how that feels, and if you think you want to add a little balance, try the tandem. So shoulders down, curl up, press overhead, and down. Okay, so if you have any back pain with this, really think about engaging your abs. If that still doesn't help, sit down for this one, because when you press those weights overhead, it can put a lot of strain in your low back. So your core has to engage, pressing weights over your head. And this is a double movement here. So you can keep breathing, keep those shoulders down away from your ears, don't lift them up here. Curl up to your shoulders, press overhead. And then when you curl back down, make sure those elbows go all the way straight each time. Again, if you have back pain, sit down in a chair. You can do the same exercise without engaging that back so much. It still will, but it puts your back in a much safer position if you know you have that low back pain tendency. Let's do 3 more. Straighten those elbows all the way at the end. And 10. Breathing. Okay, great. Set those weights down. And remember, use proper form when you set weights down and when you're picking them up off the floor, so that you don't. I see lots of people perform everything very well in great form, and then they go to put their weights down and they kind of go, ugh. You don't want to compromise your back in those transition times. So be very mindful when you're picking up your weights and when you're setting them down in between exercises. Okay, next we're going to grab a band. You can use that same band that you did for your lat pull. I just grabbed a different one here for ease. We're going to do some side stepping. So getting that lateral movement in. We do a lot of things forward, and I'm going to start working on to the side here so that we can engage those glutes a little bit more that I talked about earlier. So I want you to step on the band, and then depending on the length of your band, this one's okay, I want you to be in an athletic position. So your hips are bent, your knees are bent, and your hips are bent back. Your chest is high. You're not really in a squat, but you're just in an athletic position, like you're ready to play. So toes facing straight forward, holding that band kind of right here at your hips. And then I want you to step. Keep your feet about shoulder width apart. You're taking very little steps. I don't want you to take a big step and then bring it all the way in. So you're trying to control it both ways. Nice, small steps. So we're going to go about 10 in one direction, and then we're going to go back 10 in the other direction. Importantly, keep those toes facing straight forward. Don't let this one lead out to the side. That's very common because our hip flexors and our quads want to take over, but we're trying to work those glutes. We're trying to isolate those glutes and make them work. Many times they don't want to because they're a little weak and our bigger muscles want to take over. So we're going to go back and forth a couple times here. If you're keeping proper tension on this, you should really start to be feeling that in those glutes. Okay, now we're going to go back. Just an athletic stance here. You don't need to be in a squat. Knees bent, hips bent, chest high. Just a little bit of a good supportive athletic stance, keeping that core engaged. Okay, now again, in transition, watch your back. So you can let that band fall to the floor. Good, now we're gonna lower to the floor. I'm gonna do another hip exercise. So on your back, we're going to do leg lifts. But instead of just lifting and lowering them here, I want you to make sure you can see my toe here. Lie on your back, one knee bent, that helps support your back. Think about flattening that back to the mat to help support that back. So hands beside your hips. Now, instead of just lifting your legs straight like this, when you lie your foot on the floor, sometimes it kind of turns out to the side like that. That's what I want. So let it turn out to the side laterally. We're going to work that VMO and your hip flexor at the same time, but this kind of gets a different part of your hip than just doing a plain hip flexor exercise. So you might be feeling that all along in here. And when you go up and down, bring it up to about the height of your knee, and then don't quite set it down. So just keeping it in that range of motion. Also, remember to flatten that back to the floor, protect that back. We want to make sure that you're engaging that core, keeping that back protected. After you've done 10, nice and slowly, switch feet. Flatten that back to the floor. If you're having trouble maintaining that, you can stop at any point, bend both knees and then do it, and that's an easier position to flatten your back. Okay, now let that toe turn out to the side. Raise it about knee height, lower it down almost to the floor, but don't let it rest on the floor. That keeps that muscle engaged and keeps it working throughout this entire set. Remember to keep breathing, keeping that back pressed to the floor, relaxing your shoulders. Hands beside your hips for that support as well. Okay, now we're going to stay in this position on the floor with our knees bent on your back, and we're going to do a double knee lift. So hands beside your hips, press that back into the mat just like we were just doing. I want you to pick up both of your knees towards your nose and slowly lower back down. Now, if you can, pull them up here and then don't quite set them down. Keep your knees bent though, especially if you have low back pain or if you're having trouble maintaining that flat back. Really keep your knees bent. Just slowly lowering up and down. Keeping your hands here for support. Pulling your knees towards your nose. If you cannot do that, if you can't lower them without setting them down, that's okay. Set them down, pull them back up again. Set them down, pull them back up again. So start where it's not painful and where you're going to be successful with this exercise. I want you to be able to do it, and then you can work on not setting them down. Conversely, if this feels really easy, if you're doing it slow enough and in this range of motion, you should be feeling it in your abs here. If not, you can start to straighten your legs just a little, unless you can't maintain that flat back. If you start to straighten your legs and your back goes up, start over. Flatten that back, pull your knees up, lower down. Really maintain that flat back because that's what's going to support you and keep you in that proper position. All right, after you've done 10, you can sit up and we'll do them all through again. Today I'm just going to go through them all once. But remember, you can Do them through 2 or 3 more times. Usually the second time through, they feel just a little bit easier. Your muscles are warmed up. They know what to expect. The third time through, you really create that improved strength. So remember to always start with a good warm-up. Repeat these through 2 or 3 times, and then follow with a good stretch and cool down. So stretching those muscles that we just worked, or using that stretch video that I put out months ago now to stretch out your whole body, but take some time for you and really do this whole thing through properly. The other thing you can do is do 1 set, do 5 minutes of cardio, do another set, add some more cardio, keep your heart rate up the whole time. So you can level up or level down with this quite easily. All right, thanks everybody. I'll see you next time.